Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
To the west of the great continent of Kern lies the island provinces of Perth, home to brave seafarers, exotic pleasures, storms of swirling magical energy, and cults dedicated to the old gods. Upon these white sands came the Eve's Watch, a band of sellswords and brutes seeking their fortune upon the shores of these lands. Let me tell you of this age of legends, for I and I alone am keeper of their saga. This is their chronicle.
Shynn, you're clinging to the wall and looking at that space that the woman in the red dress was occupying. She's now gone. You have memories of her. You remember her. She was a border woman that you encountered while you were out on one of your strolls. It was actually one of the first ones you encountered. And periodically, she'll pop up every now and again. She's probably the one that shows up more frequently than the others. It was probably the more traumatizing incident since she was the very first. And there's a great deal of remorse and regret that usually follows an encounter with her, more so than the other red-garbed individuals that you will see. That most often they appear at night, but sometimes they appear during the day. As your gaze is fixated on that spot, you shake your head, realizing that the sun has come up. It's a new day in Mahz'Shapour, and you can hear people stirring inside the princess's chambers. What are you going to do?
I am going to go to the exact spot where the woman in red, who resembles my first kill, existed, and start examining the ground, looking for any sign, anything I can find.
There's no indication that an actual person was there. None at all. And that's usually the case when you have these encounters, these hauntings, if you will. You get some curious looks from the guards as they walk by. They'll nod and greet you with a good morning, and they'll continue on their way. There's a great deal of activity starting around the palace grounds. People going off to work, going to the kitchens, coming from the kitchens, the occasional stable boy, and any number of assorted earthen nobles coming and going from the palace. The work day for the royal family seems to start very early.
I will suddenly remember that I have a duty and run back to the building and climb up to the balcony.
You scale the building easily, climb over the balcony, swinging your legs over and walking into the princess's chambers. She is dressed and ready, sitting in her chair, counting some coins, tossing them into a coin purse and tucking them inside her garments. She's got a broad-brimmed hat on, and she sits looking at you.
Princess, are you ready to go? Should I call the guards?
I'm ready, of course. Yes,
Oh,
let's
okay.
go.
Then I will walk to the door, open it up, and look out. She's ready.
Okay.
Princess,
Mr. Varskelis,
we await your pleasure.
she walks out into the hallway.
Lovak's at one side of the door.
Jeel's coming out of the library room, changed, gets in onto the left side.
Cool, come out.
Malay and Cool take point.
Tuco approaches Shynn and says, "Cloak, please."
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
She walks down the hallway, chatting the whole way. This is wonderful. I would prefer if maybe we could tarry a bit, maybe so I can arrive late for my lessons. Your role isn't to ensure that I attend my lessons in a timely fashion, is it?
What is your schedule?
I have my afternoon lessons, of course. Boring. And then I have to attend some meetings with some nobles in the afternoon. More suitors coming to tell me how wonderful they are, how they deserve my hand in marriage.
What order are the lessons? Like, what's first, what's second, what's third?
Oh, I'm not telling.
Oh.
It's a secret, Mr. Koo. Secret.
Well,
I want to take my time shopping. We don't need
shopping, yes, of course.
That's the priority for today.
Princess,
Yes.
your mother did not hire us to enforce your schedule.
Good. Now that that's
Just to guard
established,
you.
let's go to the bazaar. She jingles the coin pouch and starts walking down the hallway.
Boulay and I lead.
You exit the palace grounds and walk out into the city, and it's already sweltering hot, but there's a nice breeze. So that makes it almost like being in a convection room. It is only slightly cooler, but still unpleasantly hot. The sounds of the jungle can be heard. Soon they're drowned out by the sounds of city life. People going about their business, shopping, talking. The princess will greet people along the way, wave, smile, say hello. Ku, it seems somewhat awkward to you. There's not an ease in her way, in her manner. She's saying hello and greeting people. She doesn't have that same level of charisma and bearing that her mother does, nor would you really expect it from someone so young. But they smile and wave and greet her. Good morning, my princess, as she passes by the wealthier areas of town, soon exiting and going into a part of town that is frequented more by the common folk of Perth. Soon you find yourself in the bazaar, that area with all the brightly colored tents and kiosks, all manner of merchants, smiths, and there's a few small rickety shacks with brightly colored roofs that are attended to by goblin merchants. They're smiling big, sharp-toothed grins, calling people over and telling them all the wonders of the wares, their snake oils, their finery from across all of Hymeran. It becomes evident that she is on her way towards the livestock pens. She's searching for that exotic cat she wants.
The moment we hit the less than desirable area, Lovak's going to put his hand on his sword and it's going to stay there.
When we get to the bazaar, Tuco is looking around for high ground. Is there a statue, a higher standing pedestal, anything that would allow a survey of the entire area?
There are some taller buildings that you could get a fairly good vantage point of the bazaar from the top of.
Ku will scan the crowd in the attention deficit disorder way of the Kopi, of constantly short attention span, like checking everyone, everything.
Roll an investigation check. I assume that's what you're doing, right?
11.
11. Everything looks fine to you. Yep. There's a lot of people, a lot of fascinating people here at the bazaar. It's kind of a melting pot of the different people of Hymeran. You're seeing trolls and Valrakians, Bearakians, the Caravarans, several elves amongst the Perthan people going about their business.
Do the Balrakians and Valrakians look as miserable as Jeel?
Yes, particularly the Valrakians, who are used to living on a massive ice floe. This is quite a departure from what their norm is. This is probably the only time you haven't seen one clothed head to toe in furs and heavy armor. They're now wearing much more weather-appropriate clothing, and they almost look less menacing without all of that.
So weather appropriate, we talking like Speedos?
Many are shirtless and wearing just pants and tall boots, but
Thank-
not a fur can be seen on them.
Thank God. If there was a Speedo to be seen, I'd have to take my eyes out.
Tuco will tap Shynn on the shoulder and say, I'm going to find an overwatch. I'll give a signal if I see danger.
Go.
And I travel towards one of the taller buildings, preferably the one closest to the animal pens, because I know that's the princess's destination, and attempt entry.
Are you going to enter the building?
I intend
get
to
the room?
open the front door.
The front door opens easily for you, and you walk in. It looks like a dwelling. There's a cooking area off to your right. You can see someone inside the cooking area. It looks like they're preparing a meal.
Can I see the stairs?
Yes, there's a set of stairs that leads up.
In my stealthiest fashion, I attempt to sneak up the stairs.
Roll your stealth.
8 plus 7.
15.
15, math teacher?
15 is the number I rolled.
You climb up the stairs easily. There's several rooms on that second floor with another set of stairs that lead up. You can hear what sounds like people moving about those rooms.
I attempt to continue to stealthily move up to the next floor.
Make another stealth check.
17.
You make your way easily up to the very top, and there's another set of stairs that leads up another flight. You can see sunlight coming from the top of the stairs.
Continue to climb.
Climb up the stairs and make it out onto the roof. On the roof is a clothesline with some sheets, clothing hung up on it. Seems like you're the only one up there. There's a See the other rooftops from there and the bazaar down below you. There's someone on another roof hanging clothing. They look at you, smile, and wave and say good morning.
I wave back. I unshoulder my bow, prepare an arrow, and after I have my bow and arrow on the ground, I tie a length of rope to the most secure footing I can find here on the roof
Probably the clothesline.
and leave it coiled at the edge of the roof, prepared to throw over and rappel as far down as it will get me.
Below you, you could see the princess and the party, as well as a swarm of people.
Do I see
Milling
any
about.
obvious danger?
You don't see any obvious danger.
Do I see any unobvious danger?
Make a perception check.
+0 makes it a 12.
Nothing pops out at you initially. It just appears to be people going about their business in the bazaar. You can see city guards down there. The bazaar is rectangular in shape, and there's at least one guard at every corner of the bazaar, and then there's guards in pairs that walk through the bazaar. It's hard to tell how many there are on these kind of like roaming patrols, but you think maybe 4. In their armor, they all kind of look the same, and after being up there a while, you can tell, okay, these are different individuals. There's one that's really tall, one that's, kind of short and stocky. You can pick out the different patrols after a while.
I stay there and maintain maximum concentration. That's my post.
Lovak's going to look over to Jeel. Remember the Renerick contract? When we were bookends that time? I feel this is the same way. Nothing within 5 feet of our target.
I remember it well, and I think that's a
If
plan
she
to go.
approaches, that's fine, but if anyone approaches her, no one gets within arm's reach.
And almost immediately after you say that, a short, stubby gentleman, maybe a Prenagine, approaches with a basket of dried meats. My princess.
Step in front of him.
Oh, pardon me, sir.
Your business?
I was hoping the princess would grace my wares by sampling some of my dried meats.
No, she's not interested in sampling any of your dried meats.
Thank you, sir. He looks at the hand on your sword hilt nervously, and then looks over at the hulking figure of Jeel, walks away from you backwards, bumping into a few people as he does so.
Stare at him until I can no longer see him mingled into the crowd.
He disappears a lot quicker than you would imagine someone of his rotund shape would into the crowd. That's how it goes throughout most of the time there. There's people that approach the princess, offer her jewelry and cheap baubles, not something a princess would wear, but she seems to be open to that. And is very complimentary.
Unless she actually says, oh no, I'll talk to them. I'm going to turn everyone away that comes in from the right.
And I'll be doing the same from the left.
Very heavy-handed, she says to you both. They're just trying to show off their wares. I mean, I think it's nice, don't you?
No.
Delightful.
From behind, watching this, does the princess react in a negative way when people are stopped from coming up to her? Or more of like
No.
a bored way?
She seems like, she's tolerating it, but there's nothing outward to give any indication that she's opposed to it. It seems like she's accepting her fate begrudgingly.
Do we, with the exception of Shynn, the 4 of us who are on the sides and the front, do we know that Tuco is up on the roof? Do we see him?
You don't see Tuco, you don't know where he is, but having worked with him as long as you have, he's probably up there somewhere on Overwatch.
Skulking about the place.
Then I'm going to actively look for him.
It doesn't take you long before you find the large, sunburnt, even redder orc up there. His top knot is almost unmistakable, and he cuts a pretty large figure anywhere he goes.
I'm going to take out my steel mirror, signal him, using the sun to reflect off his face, get his attention.
As the sun from the mirror glints into my eye, I may raise my middle finger high.
That's the signal that you caught his attention.
Caught his attention. Ku will then, in Thieves' Cant, message him stating that you should be on the ground here. You're our poisons expert. You can look at these food, the wine, the drinks to make sure they're not poisoned.
The message back is later.
And then Ku raises his middle finger.
And that's usually how your interactions go. Message received. It's
Over Roger.
It's not so much an argument as it is kind of like your playful banter with each other. There's usually the tone of, I can't stand this person, but you're actually pretty tight. She meanders her way through. She kind of drags Lovak and Jeel over to a few booths where she has some awkward interactions with people. and she's talking to a wine merchant about the grapes and how the wine's made and looking enthralled in the process, even though it's mind-numbingly boring.
Well, for you, I may find it very interesting, considering the herbalism.
And he pours her a tall glass of wine and hands it to her, and she smiles as she reaches for it.
And then I'll reach for it and I'll drink it.
She'll stand and she'll just watch you.
It's safe.
Yeah. He's not dead, so maybe I can have some now. He
Your mother wouldn't want you drinking.
grabs the wine and makes eye contact with you as she reaches, brings it to her lips.
Try to get my hand on the cup.
I am the Princess of Mahz'Shapour, Mr. Jeel. She says this as she's looking up at you defiantly. I would like a drink, if you please.
Fine. When you fall ill, it's not my fault.
She drains the glass, smiles and thanks the guy, and looks at Jeel and says, I can't believe you actually let me drink this. How do we know it wasn't poison? And she jabs you in the belly with her elbow and laughs as she goes walking off into the crowd.
Lovak will lean over. Next time, just drink half of it and give it back to her. That way she knows it's safe and she can drink.
I didn't think of that.
I know.
Protocol, gentlemen. You should grab another glass and pour half of it into that glass, then drink it, not sully her
protocol?
glass with your lips.
That sounds overly complicated.
She's not my princess.
Nor mine.
She chose you as guards. You gotta do it right. I know you guys aren't a stickler for this, but I know court.
Tuco, from your vantage point, you see that the bazaar is beginning to fill up. Wagons bringing supplies in, more people coming. There's the guards that you've grown used to seeing. There's a few monkly types in red robes. They have cloaks and brooches. There's a few sailors from other lands, a couple gnomes selling trinkets that whir and buzz and do all sorts of things. There's toys and all manner of interesting things in the bazaar that are starting to pour in. It seems like there's some late comers to the bazaar. After a while, those roving patrols stop and the bazaar fills up even more.
I've been ranging not super far, but a little further out from the central core. I'm going to tighten my circle just a little bit, come in close. I know we've kind of been leading, but we don't really know where we're going. We need to keep an eye on the princess. So I've kind of been allowing her to lead from the middle. We get back a little closer to her now with this extra press of people.
When the roving patrols stop, Tuco shoulders his bow, sheathes the arrow, drops the rope over, down the rope. Will a 50-foot rope make the ground?
Yes.
He's on the ground, he's moving at full speed, not jostling, but actively pushing people to the ground away from him to get to the party, yelling, "We're leaving! Get out now! Get out now!"
We roll if we hear that? Or are you going to wait till you get to the group to say that?
Oh no, he's moving and yelling the whole time. He does not stop yelling.
So with the passive perception,
The first one
Coup.
here will be coup.
Well, I would disagree with that. Like, I have the highest passive perception in the group. The reason I would disagree with that, I'm also the shortest.
Yes, that's true.
Everybody is way taller than me. I'm probably not going to hear him.
that is true.
Good point.
There is.
I am making quite a ruckus, so a tall person might be able to notice me very easily.
That is also true. Jeel,
Yes.
you can't help but notice as you're scanning the crowd, the large frame of Tuco maneuvering through the crowd, shoving people aside, like shoving people, not kind of shouldering his way through the crowd, but pitching people aside, people with baskets falling to the ground of the bazaar. And after a while, the populace of the bazaar kind of parts to let him pass after a few bodies hit the ground. He's yelling something. You're not certain what it is he's yelling, but there is a sense of urgency about him. As you are watching him, there is an arrow that whizzes by.
By whom?
By Hume. Lovak, there is a thud and a gasp as the princess is hit in the back of the shoulder with an arrow, and she slumps to the ground in the bazaar, and people start running in panic.
I'm going to pull the arrow out and scoop her up, cradle her in my arms, and look over at Boulay, pick a path.
I'm going to pick the path that Tuco just cleared.
Shynn,
As soon as I see the princess get picked up, I cast Cure Wounds with a point spent in order to make it 30 feet range and give her 9 points.
there is a warm crimson glow that kind of starts at her feet and works its way up throughout the course of her body, and it's something that you recognize all too well as Shynn's magical healing Her eyes flutter a little bit. She looks up at you and says, "Put me down."
Not right now.
Initiatives.
Ku, what's your initiative?
Initiative for me is an 18.
Lovak.
5.
Tuco's at 13. Shynn.
22.
Mule.
5.
Jeel.
10.
GM.
4.
That puts 22. Shynn is the first.
Shynn, what are you going to do?
I use movement to close to within 5 feet,
Okay.
and then I follow them.
Next up, 18. Ku.
Ku gets in line behind Mule, daggers out.
Next is Tuco. Is the slave trade still happening in this square?
It looks like it was starting to open once there were the shrieks and people hitting the ground, and then the arrow that struck the princess. They stopped what they were doing and dipped underneath the platform that the auction was about to happen at.
I imagine it'll take at least all of my movement, if not more, to close on the party.
It's going to be a lot easier now because the crowd has parted and people are running towards the exits of the bazaar.
So it'll be a dash, and that takes my entire turn.
Don't forget, you can use dash as a bonus action.
True. I close on the party. If I can get there in 60 feet, I'm there. Next is Jeel.
Jeel's going to just turn to see where the arrow came from, and then he's going to just hold ground.
Tell me how you're doing that. Where are you looking? How are you scanning?
From the direction, she got hit in the back and
Yes.
back shoulder, so I'm looking back that way.
Looking behind you, you can't see how someone could have shot her in the back from behind, with the crowd being the way it was.
Scan the rooftops.
A scan of the rooftops. Roll your perception.
9.
Perhaps it's the sunlight. You can't really make out whether or not there's any rooftop shooters. There's a lot of movement on the roofs from clothes and the whatnot linens billowing in the breeze, but it's hard for you to pick out anybody who is clearly an assailant. You know, an elderly woman hanging some bloomers out on the line, a couple other individuals that are riveted by the scene that's unfolding below them, but they all look like commoners. None of them appear to be armed, certainly not with a bow.
But what I'll do from there is I'll just back up as close as I can to Lovak to give them cover, still facing that same direction, and say, "Get moving."
Next is a pair of 5s, Mule and Lovak.
Well, I can't move any faster than Moulet, so
I'll go first.
I'll look down. Is she still grimacing in pain, or she just looks pissed off because I'm carrying her?
She looks really put out that she's being carried like a sack of flour, but she doesn't look like she's in pain. You can attribute that easily to the healing magic of Shynn's.
I'm going to move towards exiting the bazaar. I am going to look around, much like Jeel did. Well, a lot of the people in the bazaar hit the deck, right? When this arrow came.
A lot of people
And then
hit
fled.
the deck. A lot of people left. There was this massive rush of bodies towards the exits of the
Is there
bazaar.
anybody that's not doing that? Either on the ground, somebody who might be looking to see an effect, perhaps.
There's very clearly a trio of Perthans. They look like they're soldiers, but they don't look like Mahz'Shapourian soldiers. They're tall, slender. They're dressed in the vibrant colors, you've grown accustomed to, carrying broad-tipped spears, and they seem to be on a trot towards the party. There's also a trio of large Perthan men that are moving slowly towards your group, and then there's these men in red robes, the cloaks and the brooches.
All 3 of those groups are approaching us.
Everybody but the ones in the red robes.
They're just watching.
They're spectators.
Which of them are in the direction the arrow came from? Any of them?
Neither of the ones in the red robes maybe could be, but there's no visible signs of any weapons on their persons.
I'm going to say that's my action to kind of take that in. I'm going to spend my moving back along the path that Tuco made, since it's clear, kind of gesturing for the rest of the party to follow. We can get into some sort of cover under an eave, in a doorway, something, in a tent, someplace where we can get
wagons,
anything, right? Something where we can regroup, take cover,
kiosks.
assess. Yes. So that's what I'm moving towards, the nearest one.
There's a large, brightly colored goblin wagon with a large snail, like large horse-sized snail, just sitting by it. There is a short, stout goblin running about frantically, trying to attach all the trappings of what a horse normally would have to the snail while scanning rooftops and crowds.
The snail. Is it a racing snail?
It is a racing snail. You can tell because it's got flames along the shell.
I think, I'm going to aim for the wagon to take cover behind it. And gesture for the rest of the party to do the same.
Moulet very clearly makes a beeline for the
Just follow him.
for the wagon. As you're running towards the wagon, a series of arrows fly through the air from behind you, from ahead of you, and from either side of you. And it's clear now that they are from the rooftops. The arrows take out a few of the members of the people in the crowd that are still there, making a beeline for the exits of the bazaar. They hit various merchants' kiosks and wagons, the occasional merchant who's closing up their shop, but none of them hit you. The large Perthan men, big, muscular men, begin to trot towards your location, as do those three slender ones with the broad-tipped spears. And the red-robed individuals remain motionless. The bazaar it's an outdoor bazaar. It's set up like a rectangle. It's in a rectangular shape, rimmed by taller buildings, and there's exits, entrances from various parts of the city that lead to it. The exits are now being guarded by several city guards, but they don't look like they're intervening.
GM, it's your turn in the initiative.
I went.
Okay. Back to the top. 22, Shynn.
How far away from the nearest exit is this wagon?
The nearest exit, by best you can tell, is about 50 feet to your right if you were to be standing behind the wagon. The wagon's fairly close to one of the taller buildings. It's got several overhangs, awnings of brightly colored material flapping in the wind. You think it'd be difficult for someone to shoot down at you through like all those multiple levels of awnings.
How close do I think the goblin is to hooking up the snail?
He looks like he's pretty close to being done. He's in the process now of climbing up onto the wagon.
I run up to him and I interact with my pouch, pull out a gold, hand it to him, and say, "You're now commandeered. We're about to load up. Get us out of here as fast as possible."
A gold to get you out of imminent danger. That seems a bit cheap, don't you think?
You
I would
want-
say no less than 5 gold if you want.
Bargain on the outside. I'll
Oh,
give you
no,
whatever
no,
you
no,
want.
no. We
I'll
bargain
give
on
you
the inside.
whatever you want.
5
Bargain
gold.
on the outside.
5
Done.
gold. You want something from me? I don't want anything from you. This is dangerous.
5 gold. Done.
Hand it over.
I will look over my shoulder and say, "Load the wagon," and then dig out 4 more gold.
Bites it. Yep. Puts it in his pouch and goes, yeah.
It's a snail.
Snaps the reins of the snail, and the snail takes off at breakneck snail speed. Where are you if you choose to make your escape on the snail-drawn wagon?
Are we still in initiative?
Yes.
Then I will wait for my turn.
Next in initiative is 18, Coop.
How far has the snail moved approximately?
An inch or two?
Oh,
You can see that like rippling underbelly of the snail moving, undulating, and it's towing the wagon easily. It's just not going fast.
so I'm gonna turn to the princess first. Are these friends or foes? The ones that are approaching?
I do not know the large ones, and I believe those are Ernexians. She points to the tall, slender ones. Their prince wishes to have my hand in marriage, and I have declined his offers several times. But I don't think he want me dead.
Well, would he try to take you forcefully?
That would be an act of all-out war. I don't think he would, but I don't know for sure.
Ku will take a spot behind the wagon, behind it where Moulet is, as cover.
Like taking cover.
Yeah.
Next is Tuco. Tuco, having now caught up with the group, observes the scene and sees the 3 groups, big, less big, and standing still, and he will take a shot at those standing still. 14.
Are you standing out in the open, or are you taking cover?
I'm standing in the open.
So Tuco stands in the empty bazaar, puffs his chest out as he draws back his bow and fires an arrow. The arrow whizzes over one of the shoulders of those 3 brightly colored, tall, slender men from Ernexus and slams into the chest of one of those red-robed individuals. He slumps to the ground, and the other 2 take cover behind barrels.
Tuco then turns and runs, but not behind the snail-drawn cart, looking for alternative cover in the near vicinity.
And
is Tuco. Next is Jeel.
I'm actually going to hold my action and move when Lovak moves. This way I'm being at least cover for him.
And are you behind the carriage or are you somewhere else? The cart? Wagon, rather?
Yeah, we didn't. I'm waiting to see where he's going.
Okay.
Okay. The 2 5s, Lovak and Mule.
Are you still in the square, or did you follow me behind
I've
the
been
wagon?
following right behind you the entire time.
Okay.
Lovak hasn't left right behind you. He's been like up 5 to 10 feet behind you.
Considering how slowly this wagon is moving, I think we can still continue to use it for cover to assess and find our best exit. I'm fully prepared to kind of inch along behind it as we get closer to an exit and then make our leave. I think that's fine. I'm going to look up the rooftops. Can I catch a glimpse of any of the shooters?
Make a perception check.
20.
20. You see, once you pick out one of them, there's an archer standing in between 2 lines of clothing on one of the rooftops, and then you begin to see several others now that you know what to look for. And it almost seems as though every rooftop has one kneeling or standing archer taking cover behind some sort of structure, be it within the lines of clothing, tucked up flat against the wall on a small, like, shack on top of the roof.
I will point them out to the group. I will point out the one I saw and then just kind of guide my hand to show.
That they're everywhere.
Right.
There's a lot of them.
Some of them we should be in cover behind the wagon against their shots, though, correct?
Yes. There's a few that might be able to shoot down at an angle, but the shot that they have
It should be much narrower now.
Yeah.
So, will you still allow me to take an action after all that, or was that pretty much my action?
Oh, you can take an action.
So I'm going to pick one of the ones that is still visible and looks like it has a clear shot at us. I'm going to speak a few words, make a few gestures, and gather this almost electric, black mold of energy in my hands. It's got a 120-foot range, so I'm going to assume that is lengthy. Eldritch Blast. Deterrent Eldritch Blast. That is a 20 to hit.
Is that a nat 20?
No, dirty 20. Dirty 20 to hit. 9 points of force damage. If he's balanced precariously enough, maybe it'll push him off the edge. But maybe at least get him to duck back if it doesn't kill him outright.
You form that ball of energy in your hands and thrust it forward almost like you're shot putting it. It flies towards him in this awkward, wobbly fashion. Before it even makes it to the roof, the clothes on the clothesline ruffle and flare out, and then it hits the archer square in the chest. And you can see the energy coursing through his body as he is instantly electrified, and he falls backwards into the clothesline, taking down the line itself.
Very good, then. I end my turn.
And it's Lovak's turn. So I will set the princess down, grab her by the shoulders, crouch down, look her straight in the face. You will stay behind me at all costs. You veer off at all, and I will corral you back. Do you understand?
She shakes her head nervously.
And then I'm going to begin
Yes.
casting. Reach up, grab my focus, and I am going to cast Shield of Faith upon her, which will give her +2 to her AC, so it'll make it a little bit more difficult to hit her. And then I'm going to spin around, interact with object, pull my shield off my back, grab my spear, and then take a defensive stance. With the princess between me and the snail cart. Mule, pick a path. We need to leave.
Yes, sir.
Next up is GM.
What was that evil leer towards me all about?
So it begins. Lovak, an arrow finds its mark. You're still at AC 18, is that correct?
That was, no, I'm actually at defensive stance, right? Disadvantage. Or is disadvantage or is it plus? Well, shield, yes, but I'm also taking defensive
Partial
stance.
cover.
Partial cover too.
Partial cover.
Partial cover,
Gives them
Shield of Fate's a bonus
disadvantage,
action, so you'd have the action.
Yep.
Yeah, you take dodge. It's disadvantage against you.
So who's behind the cart? Show of hands. Everybody but
Everyone
Jeel
but Jeel.
and Tuco?
And Tuco.
Tuco found alternate cover.
So the arrows fly, and you can hear them thudding on the opposite side of the wagon. A few find their way into that little alleyway that you're in between the building and the wagon, but they either bounce off the snail shell, embed themselves into the wagon, or fall at your feet, clacking across the stone ground, cobblestones of that bazaar. There is a thud, and those of you that are behind the snail cart see the head of the snail drop with an arrow sticking out of its forehead. There's the distinct cursing in Goblin of the Goblin merchant, and he yells, "That's 50 gold for my snail!" So now your means of escape is now dead.
Oh, well.
You gonna try and get your 5 gold back there, Shynn?
Is that GM's turn done?
That is the GM's turn. That is done.
22 is Shynn.
I look around at everybody. I'm holding and waiting for you guys to be ready to run. There's a smoke bomb about to go off. As soon as you tell me, it goes off and we run. And I hold action.
18 is Ku.
Okay, that's good information. That kind of cancels what I was planning. Ku takes out a short bow, knocks an arrow, and finds a target and fires.
Who are you targeting? Are you targeting an archer on the roof? Are you targeting someone?
Archer on the roof. 13.
A 13 misses.
Okay.
Arrow ricochets off the top of one of the buildings that one of those archers are at, snapping and falling to the ground below.
Next up is Tuco. How large is this square feet by feet? It's a rectangle. Is it 200 by 400-ish?
It's huge.
Huge.
It's of massive proportions. Well, massive is a bit much, but it's huge. It's facilitating gallows for public hangings. There's multiple shops there. It's a large area.
How far away are the two massive, I believe there were two massive men. Three massive men heading our way.
They're from the
the cart.
wagon. They're probably about 40 feet away. They're at a full trot. They're not moving fast because they're large men, very muscular. They have on their hips, they have these big, like, tulwar type of swords, with the curved blades and the heavy handles.
I'm going to attempt to shoot one with an arrow. There's a 19 hit.
19 hits.
Would we consider they have taken an action in the battle since they're moving?
They haven't. They've just moved.
So-
They haven't even taken their swords off their hips.
So for an assassin, that's an auto crit. Double dice. 6 points of damage, plus 3.
You roll double dice, 6d6.
No, they're not. I don't get a... Do I get a sneak attack on them?
Sorry, they haven't acted yet. You would get advantage on your attack.
Okay. Well, I
And-
made the hit, so that's good enough there, right?
Well,
I could get a crit, right?
Yep.
Well, you're already getting double damage, but yeah.
I didn't get a crit, but it was
Right.
another hit.
So
Then I get the auto crit, but do I get the sneak
that's
attack?
double dice.
Do I get
But
sneak attack?
Because
it's not an
if you
enemy
get
within 5
advantage on the
feet.
attack roll, you get.
If I get advantage,
you get advantage, you have sneak attack. Correct.
Okay, so that was 6 for the first 2. And 10 for the second 2 for 16. And 6 for the last one for 22 points of damage.
Your arrow slams into his forehead, stopping him dead in his tracks, dead literally, and he, in mid-run, falls, doing a face plant onto the ground at the bazaar.
As a movement after that, I scream bloody murder, just yelling and running away from the cover of our party in search of cover further away from them.
There's any number of kiosks or shacks. I mean, it's quite easy to find cover. You're running through the now emptying bazaar amidst a maelstrom of arrows that have not yet found their mark.
And so you see a largish red man yelling, swinging arms as if trying to fly. Come and get me, you stupid pieces of garbage! And then diving into a shack.
You go crashing into a shack, diving through that open window they have in the front, where the merchant sells his wares and interacts with customers, almost landing on the shocked merchant that's taking cover in there.
Hi, how you doing?
Come here often?
Hello.
I'll be gone in a minute. Just hold tight.
Oh, I will. Don't you worry. Care
And
for
that-
some dried meat?
Yes, thank you. And that is Tuco's action. Next is 10, Jeel.
So I saw one of the 3 fall. I'm going to say, Shynn, do it now, since he's holding his action. And I'm going to say, do it now, and then I'm just going to pivot and still wait for them to get closer.
So you're facing them,
Yes.
your adversaries.
Next is the pair of 5s.
I'm using my held action. It was just triggered. So Shynn interacts with the object, pulls out a smoke bomb from a pouch, casts prestidigitation to light it, and rolls it towards the back of the cart. Then climbs up into the goblin seat and says, "You don't get 50 gold. You owe me 4. You didn't get us to the gate."
Does that
End
make
of
you
turn.
no longer in cover?
Yes.
Well, I'm in cover by a big, large goblin.
He's about 3.5 feet tall. He's
That-
portly.
That's okay. I'll take it.
It's our pair of fives, Lovak and Mule.
Yep, I will move. So, closest exit, how far? You said 50 feet?
About 50 feet.
And is that packed full of people right now, all pushing, shoving, trying to get out?
People pushing and shoving to get out. The city guard are now on either side of the crowd, ushering them out. None of them have made any effort towards rendering aid to you or the princess.
That is fine. That's their business, and our business is their business. The closest gate, I'm dashing. So 60 feet move should put me right there. And Lovak will be, I expect, on my heels.
Now it's Lovak's turn. He is going to reach down, use his shield arm to scoop up the princess. Just below the buttocks, the way you would cradle a small child. Put your arms around my neck, and I would pull her in tight so she's between the shield and my chest. Transfer my lance to that arm or my spear to that hand, and then start moving. If I see any target on the rooftop or in front of me, I will loose a spell.
Next is GM.
You're running
Yes.
towards.
I'm running. I'm keeping up with Mule. I will move as fast as Mule moves.
Okay.
So that's a double move.
Yeah, so if he's
Move and
dashing,
then dash.
I'm dashing.
Another maelstrom of arrows empties into the bazaar with a heavy focus on the two runners, Mule and Lovak. Bill, I swear I'm not targeting you, but I hit you with a nat 20.
It's only damage.
Not bad. I like the dice tower, Frank.
Yeah, Levi's eating that.
It's anti-cursing his dice.
Take 9 points of damage. The goblin looks over at you and says, "You owe me 100 gold and get off my wagon. You're not getting your 5 gold pieces back. Because of you broke a perfectly good snail. A perfectly good snail. Do you know how much money I pay for that snail?"
2 silver.
An arrow mid-tirade protrudes from his neck. He gags. There's a gout of blood that spills out of his mouth, and he falls off to the side of the wagon. And Shynn, you are hit with an arrow. 12, still good? You don't have anything else? For 2 points of damage. I'm going to start rolling my damage dice in the tower. The red-robed gentlemen that have taken cover stand, and there's a chanting. You can see pebbles, small stones dancing on the cobblestones of the bazaar, and there begins to be a swirling of energy around both of them as hundreds, maybe even thousands of small pebbles swirl around them, and then almost like a swarm of insects erupt from them and head towards Lovak and Mule. Make saving throws.
What kind of saving throw am I making? Dexterity?
What?
What type of saving throw?
Charisma.
That's a 20.
Pretty hopeful then. 16.
Mule, you take 9 points of damage as you're peppered with this meteor storm of pebbles and stones. Lovak, take 8 points of damage as these, and you can hear them tinking off the armor of Lovak. As you approach the city guards, they begin to usher you out, and one of them gasps, "My princess!"
Does she look hurt after the meteor shower?
And immediately attack Mule.
Does he hit?
You are still
14.
14? Yes. One of them moves in, thrusts at you with a spear, catching you just under the armpit for 8 points of damage. The princess is now limp in Lovak's arms. The other guardsman attacks and misses Lovak.
After GM, top of
Great.
the order, for Shynn.
When I handed him 5 gold, did I notice what he did with it?
What?
He put it in his coin purse.
Which is on him, which is on the ground. Okay.
Yes.
So I will use movement to make it to the gate, at which point I'm watching both of my guys get attacked by city guards.
Yes.
The princess is just standing there watching it happen.
You can't see the princess. She's in my arms.
Did you put her down?
No, he picked her
I've
back
since
up
picked her
and ran.
back up.
Oh, okay. I missed that one. Left, right, 50, 50.
It would take your action to get there since you had to dash.
Correct.
far is
unless
It's also around
50,
behind us.
50
Well,
feet.
they made it in a round. I have a 35 movement. They have 30s, so I should be able to make it there too.
I moved at 60.
But you
Dashed.
cannot
They
then
dashed.
cast.
Move
They,
twice.
they double moved, but didn't take any other actions.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Correct.
Are you? No, it's.
Yes.
Well, do you have a bonus
Shynn, are
action
you-
cast?
I have lots of other things, but I didn't say I was dashing. I said I was using my movement. So if I only make 35, I make 35.
Okay.
But then you have an action, right? You haven't
Yes,
used
now I have an
action,
action, which is going
What's
to be
your action?
casting, and there's going to be a firebolt going to the left side guard.
You did roll out a smoke.
Yes,
Grenade.
last round, which should go off. I have no idea. We didn't determine that.
Go ahead and make your cast.
That's a 15.
15 will hit.
That's 4 points of damage.
Okay. The guard that was attacking you, Lovak, the one that you were fending off, as effectively as you could, kicking him back with, one of your feet, throwing a shoulder into him. He is struck in the shoulder with a bolt of crimson energy that slams him into the wall. And then there's this spitting of smoke. At first, it's a little stream, almost like a campfire is going out. And then there's a poof. The bazaar begins to be covered with this noxious white smoke billowing out of this tiny glass vessel. And then there's a crackling and a pop. The gentle breeze of that morning starts to spread the smoke throughout this wide area of the bazaar that you are occupying. As you're casting the spell, are you standing? Are you still sitting on the carriage?
He had already moved 35.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did. You moved while you're casting the spell. There's arrows clanking across the cobblestones at you from the archers that are still up on the roof. Just as you finish your spell, you're shrouded in smoke as it gradually moves across the area that you're in, obscuring their vision.
Next is Ku.
So now, where they are, it's smoke.
Where Shynn is, it's smoke. It's dense smoke. Where Lovak and Juhle are, it's smoky. The breeze is beginning to bring that thick smoke from the smoke bomb Shynn made to their area, but it hasn't fully obscured them.
So Ku would see the guards attack Juhle and Tuvok.
Yes.
Okay, so Ku is going to spend a key point to use Step of the Wind to take a dash action as a bonus action, and he is going to bolt for where Tuvok and Juhle are.
Do you mean Lovak?
Lovak.
Tuvok was the security officer on Voyager. But one of my favorite characters.
Wrong game.
Yep.
So he's gonna bolt towards them, and so Step of the Wind is a dash action as a bonus action. It also doubles the jump distance. Once he's about to get there, he's going to jump up in the air, kind of do a flip and like a heel kick at the top of one of the heads of the guards.
Which one?
Ku would know that Lovak has the princess, so the one on him.
I believe the one on him is slumped against the wall after being hit with a firebolt.
Yes. Not dead, though.
Okay. Oh, something against. Well, it doesn't matter. I rolled a 9, so.
There's
He's prone. That's advantage. He's prone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Marcus. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you.
And that was a 4.
That was a 7.
Oh.
There is this feeling in the pit of your belly, when you summon up your inner energy. Various cultures call it different things, but it is ki. It begins as a warm feeling just below your belly button and builds to almost like a furnace before you activate your ki power. And when you do, it's almost as if you're running on nothing. Your strides are longer, your speed is almost inhuman. And soon you make it to Lovak's side, execute your kick. Timing was off, so you miss. Your foot slams into the wall next to the man, but does not find the guardsman. He is still slumped against the wall. However, the wall has an indentation with powdery stone starting to trickle from the gap in the crack that you created in the wall. And now, Ku, is alongside of you, Lovak.
Next is Tuco. Tuco, from his sprinter's pose that he has been crouched in, awaiting just this opportunity, is starting to salivate. He is feeling incredibly aggressive about how this fight is not working well for him. Out the side door of this little shack he goes at a full sprint, a double move, because he's incredibly aggressive as an orc, and he's headed not towards any of the other fighters, but towards the casters. I don't know if 60 feet will get him there.
It won't, but you're well on your way.
He's dodging and bobbing just in case he runs into anybody else in the smoke, because I don't know how thick the smoke is in the region I'm moving through. And that is, but it will get me part of the way there. So I unleash another arrow at the casters. If they are, their state of cover is unknown. Is it known to me?
They're still behind the barrels, so...
So they came out and cast and then crouched again?
They're standing behind the barrels.
Standing, partial cover?
Yeah.
Disadvantage?
Yes.
I'll take that. If I can find another d20. I'm not that smart. There we go. They both missed. Well, let's see. Does 10 hit?
A 10 does not. Tuco breaks off and races towards the gentleman in the red robes. He disappears into the cloud of smoke. On the other side, Tuco appears, parting the smoke, runs through the smoke, carrying like wisps and drifts of smoke with him as he exits the cloud and stops, draws an arrow, and fires, missing one of the casters.
And next in initiative is 10, Jeel.
So where did the smoke bomb, did it go off at where the cart is at? Because that's where I left off at. So how close did those first two, or not the first two, but the two big guys, how close have they moved up to where I'm at?
It's hard to tell now because there's smoke, but they haven't come through the smoke yet.
So I'm going to try to run in their direction, and if I'm within range, I will attack one of them.
You burst through the smoke into the open bazaar, but they're not there. Out of the corner of your eye, you see them rushing towards Lovak and Moulet. They still haven't drawn their weapons yet, though.
Well, that's my move.
The pair of fives is Lovak and Moulet.
Again, I'll wait for Moulet's action.
All right, so we've got one slumped guard, not dead, but down. And then we've got another very alive guard who's frankly beating the shit out of me.
Yes.
So, all right, I'm pissed off. So I'm going to step past Lovak. So basically, so that he's not within 5 feet of me. Can I stand in a place where he's not within 5 feet, but the two guards are?
It's pretty tight quarters. I think
So-
you could probably manage.
Okay. I just don't want them within 5 feet. I will growl at them. We are protecting the princess. Get out of our way. What other people will see, but what they see, everybody at Lovak won't see this, but what they see is that the air around me will dim and cast my face into shadow. In that dimness, my toothy smile is not friendly now, but hungry. The hunt begins, and they are the prey. Wisdom save. From both of them.
What's my target?
13.
Fail and fail.
Okay. They are both frightened by me, which means that they cannot move towards me. So I believe they have to move away from me. So I
Yes.
just had this.
I think they have to run
At
away.
the maximum speed.
Correct. Frightened. Actually, they don't. They have disadvantage on attacks while I am visible to them, and they cannot willingly move closer to me. So after I do that, I am then going to move 30 feet through the gate and motion for Lovak and Ku.
You're going to have to
follow
shove
me.
your way through some fleeing people, but
That's fine.
It is...
Well, so that affected everybody within 5 feet of me, so...
Well, the crowd's moving much faster now.
Yeah, I expect so. That was the hope.
There's some shrieking, more so than when the arrows were flying and people were dropping dead in the middle of the bazaar. And someone yells, "Monster!" And
Yeah, that's fine. I don't take offense. And then I
Next-
move 30 feet.
Next is
And my
GM.
turn.
Well, me.
Lovak.
My bad.
If she goes limp in my hands, since she's already in my hands, I'll use my lay on hands and pump 10 points of healing into her. So if she was poisoned by that arrow, it'll negate the poison. If she was struck, obviously by the meteors or something like that, she will take healing from that as well. I'll give her 10 points of healing through the laying of hands.
you perform the laying of hands on her, that heavenly energy that pours through your body, channeled from the universe, from the gods themselves even, illuminates your hand in a warm glow. And what you normally experience with that is the body bathed in this warm glow and wounds healing, life returning to the body hasn't happened. And that's where we'll leave it for this week.
Join us every other week as the Eve's Watch continue their adventures in Perth. Thank you to our patrons, Find us on Patreon to join the executive producers team and support the podcast. Our cast: Bill Robitaille, Louis Aponte, Frank Whedon, Jared Parker, Marcus Holt, Sin Morse, our DM, Scott, and me, Nova. Thank you, our listeners, for joining us every other week.